So right now it's Easter Sunday for me, 5:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and from what I'm hearing, a lot of news, some crazy, is starting to come out of Australia. Right now, I have pulled up on the screen a story that Boxing Scene published earlier, but actually, I got a chance to talk to my colleague Big J, who's on the phone right now, about 11 hours or so before it really started to gain some momentum. So here we have a story here of Tszyu being offered $1 million to fight Michael Mick Zerafa, the pretty boy, Mick Zerafa. Now, before we get into anything, let me know what's going on, Big J, because right now you told me the gist of it, but let the viewers know where we are right now, April the 4th, this Easter Sunday. And also, right now, it's Monday morning over there, correct?
Yeah, good morning, guys. How you going? Hope everyone had a great Easter. Happy Easter to all. It's 10 past 7 in the morning here, Easter Monday, and I have seen probably the craziest 24 hours in Australian boxing I've ever seen on social media. Facebook and social media has just exploded with this. I've never seen anything like it. And there's several topics across the board that we're going to cover today. So to get right into it, Brian Armato, is that how you pronounce his name? Big Time Promotions, big time boxing promoter who looks after Mick Zerafa, has thrown out $1 million offer to Tszyu to fight Mick Zerafa. From my understanding, I'm watching a video on Instagram last night. It's a 60-40 split in Tim's favour, and basically that's basically what they want to do. So, and the offer's got, I believe there's a 7-day cap or 7-day time limit on whether Tim wants to take the offer or not.
So to stop you right there, so Tszyu has an offer from what's the promotional company's name? Big Time Boxing.
Big Time Boxing, yeah.
Big Time Boxing. Brian Armato
that's the one, yep.
Released a statement to Fox Sports issuing a $1 million. So is the overall purse $1 million?
Yeah, the overall purse is, I thought it was $1 million to Tszyu, but it sounds like it's overall $1 million with 60-40 split.
See, that now that's a big difference. Now, until we get some, now as it stands right now, according to the Boxing Scene article, let's see here. Here, let me read what they say. I'm sick and tired of seeing Tim make excuses and avoid what is Australia's biggest fight, Tszyu versus Mick Zerafa. Armato said in a statement to Boxing to Fox Sports. This is the promoter of Mick Zerafa. Tim is a quality fighter, but he just fought a 36-year-old fighter who's coming off a brutal knockout and his second loss in a row. Hogan also had a major injury coming into the fight and at one stage was going to withdraw. No discredit to Tim, but he has never fought the likes of a Michael Zerafa, who was in his prime and fought the best in the world. Not like Tim's opponents who were just Australians who was quite handy fighters will never be world champions. So it doesn't really go into detail. Now, it says that there's a $1 million offer on the table. But it doesn't clarify if it's $1 million to Tszyu if he wins. But I think that the 60-40, can you go to a little bit more details of what you heard?
Well, I saw a video on Instagram last night, an interview with Mick Zerafa, and he's saying that it's a 60-40 split. So my belief is that the $1 million would be 60-40 split. But that's what I got from it. So he had an interview with... well, there's a big difference between $1 million and a 60-40 split of $1 million.
That in boxing makes a whole lot more sense. To break it down for you, it still would be likely Tszyu's biggest payday if he were to win $600,000. Even right now, Americans, fighters are not making that money, and for a fringe contender. Now, of course, this would likely be in Australian dollars, obviously. But the point I'm trying to make is there's still a lot of money. Now, to get further into it, why would Tszyu fight him? What does Tszyu have to gain outside of financially? And, bragging rights to fight Michael Zerafa. Now, I want to fight, but we've talked about it many times that what reason does he have to fight him?
Well, bar fighting for the bragging rights. Nothing really, because Mick is campaigning at middleweight at the moment, and Mick hasn't fought 154, I think, since he fought Kell Brook.
And he's also a bigger fighter.
He's a bigger fighter. He's a lot more powerful. He's a lot stronger. He's got far more experience overseas, where Tim has 0. He's fought 3 ex-champions, where Tim's only fought 1. So, yeah, we all know Mick Zerafa is a very dangerous fight for Tim Tszyu. Everyone knows this. So, and, you know, at the moment, Tim is very strategically picking his opponents. So, where Mick will just pretty much fight anyone at any time. So,
now, to go through Mick Zerafa's opponents, now his last opponent, he got heavy criticism for beating up on old man Mundine for payday. 2 huge fights with Jeff Horn. 1 should have been Fight of the Year, or was definitely up there with contender to be Fight of the Year. Now I'm just giving you the significant names. The Kell Brook fight, where many thought he could have got a draw, and then of course the years back where he was sparked out by Peter Quillen in 5 rounds. In,
yeah,
New
5
York.
rounds, yeah.
So right now he's 28-4 with 17 KOs, but don't let those 4. Mick Zerafa is one of those type of fighters where he's gotten better over time. He's a very, very dangerous fighter. And for a guy like Tim Tszyu, you know, what reason would management put him in there unless they're all trying to get a payday? Me personally, I don't see the fight happening. Your thoughts before we move on to the next crazy topic?
Well, this for my mind, people who know boxing history know Anthony Mundine Green saga. Like, they were dancing around each other for 5 years before they did that first fight. This is going to be a carbon copy of this. These two will probably dance around each other for 3 or 4 years and then finally get in the ring. And really, at the moment, there's no point them fighting because there's no world title on the line. Australia does huge domestic bouts, but they're never full titles. You can count on one hand how many world title fights Australians have had where it's Aussie v Aussie. I think there's like maybe 4 or 5, and that's including the girls' fights. What you've got? Lesser Ellis, Barry Michael, Shock versus Sam Solomon, number 3. Shock versus Danny Gill, number 1, number 2. Shannon O'Connor versus Diana Prozac. There might be 1 or 2 more in there. Aussie v Aussie. Daniel Gill versus Reynold Quinlan. That's IBO. So, you know, why have it at this stage where there's no significant world title on the line? Where these guys can fight a year or 2 down the track, well, one of them's got a belt.
Yeah.
At this stage, there's no real point to it, in my opinion. You know, if both of them were world champions or something, you know, something
even if
down the
one
line,
had a belt and one was ranked to fight, it just doesn't make any sense.
At the moment, though, because they're 2 different divisions, and there's a big difference between super welterweight and middleweight.
Yeah,
big
6 pounds.
6 pounds. Well, not only that, I mean, guys will be cutting down from 180 to make 160.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't think, as much as people, you know, want the fight, it doesn't need to happen right now.
Yeah, I mean, looking at everything, I personally, it's you know, I want to see the fight. I would love to fight, but it just feels like Amir Khan versus Kell Brook. You know, a fight that should have happened. It may still happen one day, but I don't see you know what? This could be, you know, one of those fights where both of these guys are fighting when they're 38 years old. This is probably going to be that fight.
Well, as I said, Mundine Green took 5 years for the first one to happen.
It's probably going to be...
And then it took 11 years for the rematch. We all know what a debacle that was.
Yeah, this is going to be that fight. So we're going to be here. This is going to be that fight. You know, so...
Yeah, I hope not. I hope in 2 years they get it done. In 2 years.
Well, I mean,
that.
You know, I don't see Mick Zerafa moving to 168. So depending on what Tim Tszyu does at 154... Let's see how, you know, when he touches 160.
And he has stated that he wants to move up in weight. He wants to move up in weight classes. He said that more than once.
Yeah.
So a few publications out there we've actually stated, you know, want to do this 154, move up to 160. He was even possibly looking at 168. I doubt he'll go that high, but he'll definitely go to middleweight.
So, before we move on to the next topic, please take your time out, like, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. All the information is down below in the description box. Doesn't take you too long. Just click the button and like. And now I have on the screen from The Sydney Morning Herald. Here is the headline: the $10 million vow to ensure Tszyu fights for a world title in Australia. Published by Adrian Prozinsku. Now, we talked about what this is about. Now, for the hardcore boxing fans that's going to watch this video and listen to what I'm saying, this is a bold statement, but they're talking about bringing Brian Castano prying Brian Castano from Al Heyman and Charlo to bring him to Australia. Now, the question is, will they be able to come up with the money? First, before we begin, what's your thoughts on it, Big J? Let me pull up my man Brian Castano on the screen here. What's your thought on this story, and what do you know about it so far?
Well, I've only known what I've read because that's the only publication I've read on it, but it ain't going to happen. And where are they going to get $10 million from? $10 million is a lot of money.
Maybe this is maybe this article is them putting this statement out there as a cry for help, hoping that a sponsor somewhere reads this article and say, hey, you know what? Let's call them up and say, hey, we'll help you out. This is what this seems like to me. Here, let me read a couple of quotes from the article. The best case scenario is that Tszyu will take on either Charlo or Brian Castano, although there are suggestions they are eyeing a unification bout. If that's the case, Tszyu will probably have to take at least one more fight before attempting to square off against one of them. Regardless of the cost of luring such an event to Australia is estimated to be around $10 million, Rose of No Limit Boxing says, and it's a price he's prepared to pay. So he's saying he's got the money somehow. It is around that figure. It is just what we have to do to make it happen, Rose told the Sun Herald. The way I see it, the world title has to be out here in Australia. That's the situation we're in. That's what we need to come up with to make it happen. It's hard to read it because it's like, okay, listen. What do you know about No Limit Boxing? Like, do you believe they can come up with the money? Because I'm reading it and I'm thinking, that's a tall ass order, man.
It is a tall ass order, and I don't believe that they would come up with the money by themselves, and they would have to find someone with a lot of money to do it. And I think, if I'm correct, the last businessman to put on a huge fight in Australia was Kerry Packer when Azuma Nelson fought Jeff Fenech #2. Kerry's been dead for a long time, and I don't think his son James has any interest in boxing. So they're going to have to find someone who has interest in boxing with a lot of money behind them, and I don't see it happening. I mean, even if they do come up with $10 million, PBC and Al Heyman will just pay Castano 11 or 15.
Yeah, that's how. And for people who know boxing, even if Al Heyman don't make no money off the event, that's the type of stuff he does. You don't disrupt Al Heyman plans like that. You know, it's heavily, even though it's not official, it's been even talked about before even the last two won their fights. Is that, you know, even when Charlo, WBC, WBA Super, IBF, and Ring Magazine, 154-pound super welterweight champion, even before he beat Jason Rosario for that WBC and that WBA to unify, it was already being talked about that the winner was going to fight the winner of Castano versus Teixeira. In this case, Castano won, a PBC Samson Lukovich fighter. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening now. Maybe if they come up with $20 million. Who knows? You know?
Well, here's the other factor that a lot of people know about but don't talk about, is that a lot of international fighters are afraid to come here because of what happened to Pacquiao when he took on Jeff Horn.
That's true.
A lot of people still... That is probably the underlining factor of why international talent won't come here.
And I remember that was coming up a lot when Jeff Horn had the belt. It was like, no, we're not going over there to fight him. Even at the time, it was like the money's there, but fighters didn't want to go over there.
Because they're afraid that they'll get robbed.
Yeah.
So, and that still, for a lot of people, leaves a sour taste in their mouth. I mean, there's no warrant, there's no merit to that.
I mean, that's how American fighters still, not even just American fighters still feel about fighting German fighters in Germany or Russian fighters in Russia. You know, they never feel they're going to get a fair shake. But to me...
I mean, Australia are the same in certain countries.
Yeah.
We go to Mexico, things don't go our way more often than not. So that's
But from
happened
what
more than
we've
once.
seen as boxing fans, your ass can get robbed anywhere. Like
Oh, exactly. Of course it can.
they will
You're
rob you.
asking it.
They will rob you anywhere. If it's your time to get robbed, it's your time to get robbed. Like I've seen
No.
it. They don't discriminate. They don't
Well,
discriminate.
I mean, yeah, of course. Well, we all remember Franco Maloney too. Need we say any more?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Right. Yeah. So.
So
Yeah.
since we're talking about Tszyu and these two bizarre offers or whatever you want to call them, I guess we can talk about, well, what is logically next for Tszyu now that he's ranked he is number one ranked by the WBO. He is ranked number 3 by the IBF. He is not any longer ranked by the WBA. I this weekend had just covered Israel Madrimov, who had defeated, Lord knows I forgot, a guy by the name of Colombo Imani, or Imani Colombo, on the zone. He is ranked WBA World. Irislandi Lara is going to be moving to 160. Basically, to not be too long-winded, it looks like Tszyu is only targeting the WBO and maybe the IBF, as he's ranked very highly right there. Now, what we just talked about with Charlo and Castano, it's looking like if Charlo wins, he's going to likely move up to 160, vacate all belts. If Castano wins, there's a very good chance he'll reign, but Tszyu still has to fight an eliminator. So when does Tszyu usually fight? And when do you think he's going to be back, Big J?
June, August. July, August. United likes to fight every 4 months. So.
Okay, now
every 4 months.
Now, right now, I've been digging, and nobody knows. I'm telling you, no media, nobody. I've been digging. It's looking like Jamel Charlo Castano is targeted for anywhere between June and the very first week of August, something like that, is somewhere around there. So that's perfectly on Tszyu's timeline. But then after that, we're still not going to be able to see the fight if it's ordered. If in a perfect world, Tszyu, before we get too far along, would have to fight as eliminator, which I would feel Tszyu is going to be ordered to fight the winner of a Liam Smith versus a Magomed Kurbanov. That fight's coming up very soon. Or I think a Tszyu is going to be ordered to fight a Jack Houquet, who me and Big J talked about. He likely thinks is who it's going to be. So what are your thoughts on where Tszyu is likely going to go next?
In my opinion, most likely Jack Houquet. 2 reasons. 1, he's ranked just above him in the IBF. 2, he's 35 years old. And 3, he hasn't fought since August of last year.
And I've covered Jack Houquet many times. Go ahead, continue. I'm listening.
There's a little bit of a pattern here that Tszyu he's picking off opponents that haven't fought in a while or are not at their best. So, I mean, let's be honest here. Tszyu's resume really isn't that impressive for a 154. I mean, besides Dwight Ritchie, when's the last established 154 opponent he's fought that hasn't come off a war or a bad knockout? I mean, Dennis Hogan was established 154, but he got Charlo, destroyed him.
Well, let's just remember, he was just a prospect a year and a half ago. As you pointed out earlier, he's had 3 fights so far. One of the most active, if not the most active, highly ranked fighter there is right now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. His team is very smart. They keep him active, which is good because he's got a massive advantage over anyone in the world because he's been probably the most active fighter in the world at that level. He's had 3 fights in the last 8 months.
Yeah.
Jeff Horn, Bowen Morgan, and Dennis Hogan. And 2 of those fights were against, international names.
Yeah,
huge international names.
Televised names.
Well-known televised names. Okay, neither of those pair at their best. Jeff Horn or Dennis Hogan were at their best when they fought Tszyu, but he still fought them and he beat them convincingly. You've got to look at that.
Now, if it is Jack Houquet, I have him pulled up on the screen here. 29-4 with 13 KOs. I covered his fight. Actually, did a video when he fought Sergey Derevianchenko. I covered his fight when he had fought Demetrius Andrade. I don't remember if I did a fight where he fought Salusky. So his biggest fights are against fighters who are still relevant today, even though he lost them all. So, for example, Demetrius Andrade is taking on Liam Williams in his WBO mandatory at 160 in May. Salusky is going to be taking on Jaime Munguia, who defeated Dennis Hogan very controversially, who Tim Tszyu just defeated. And then he took on Sergey Derevianchenko, who lost to 160-pound Jamal Charlo, brother of 154-pound twin brother Charlo. So if he fights Houquet, it'll be a very, very good name on the resume and scalp. But from what I know about Houquet, and also what Jay pointed out from the layoff, and it's looking like, there's a pattern with Tszyu, I'm going to have to go with Tszyu over Jack Houquet. But when you look at the way the resume is going to be adding up from, Jeff Horn, Bowen Morgan, Dennis Hogan, if he gets Jack Houquet, people are going to look and, the hype is going to start getting real. It's already getting real. But in that perfect world, he won't still get a title shot until the very first quarter of 2022. So he's got it, and that's not even really guaranteed.
No, he's not getting no title.
He won't be ordered until, he won't be mandatory, like where it's like you have to fight him 30 days or 90 days to get a deal done, until at least the end of this year. Depending on if his next fight is going to be an eliminator or not. Because one thing for sure is Tszyu and that $10 million, whoever's going to put it up is not going to stop the wheels of Charlo versus Castano to be the very first PBC champion, and belts are politically valuable assets. So Al Heyman will be able to position his fighters all around. That's what he's doing now.
That's exactly right. I mean,
so the belt's more valuable, way more valuable than that $10 million that's being offered.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Charlo versus Castano is already on the wall. Everyone knows this. So it's just a matter of when, not if. So, I mean, for anyone, they were talking the same. They were trying to interfere with Trexeria Castano.
Yeah, he wasn't stopping that.
They had no chance. No chance.
Well, look at this though. Here's another quote from the Sydney Herald. Tszyu's manager, Glenn Jennings, said that his charge would be seeking to fight again as soon as July. Potential opponents being discussed as Liam Smith, Danny Garcia, and Arif Magomedov. Danny Garcia, I don't see it. If it's Danny Garcia, then expect for Tszyu to be signing a PBC promotional deal.
Has Danny Garcia ever fought 154?
Nope, not ever. But he's been he's talking about it, and it seems as though he's serious.
Okay, well, that's interesting. And what was the other fella's name?
Arif Magomedov.
When's the last time he fought?
Let me see. I'm pulling him up right now. I'm trying to see if he's ranked anywhere. I don't even see him ranked.
If I'm correct, I want to make sure I get my fact. I want to
I'm pulling him up now
before I make a statement.
I know I heard of this guy before. 18-3 with 11 KOs. He hasn't fought since 2018.
See, do you see that pattern forming there?
And he's lost 2 straight fights. Luis Arias, that's probably the fight I covered. Yep, I'm pretty sure that was it. And then Alasha Gugalani. He hasn't fought since May of 20. Why is his name being mentioned?
Do you see the pattern forming here that I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's probably going to be him.
Danny Garcia has never fought 154. Why would he want to fight him? This other bloke hasn't fought in 3 years, lost 2 fights. Why would he want to fight him?
I think that's who it's going to be. It's going to be this. Why would they mention him?
I mean,
Lenny Zappa.
Leonard Zappa. What's his real name? You know who I'm talking about. Lenny Zappa.
I forgot.
What's his real? Leonardo, how do you pronounce his last name? I've lost. He was a former IBA lightweight champion. He's fighting
Zapovic?
That's it. His name's been mentioned with Tszyu
Nah, bro.
as a possible.
So if they do that, then we'll do our job and cover the fight. But that don't mean we have to like it and agree with it. Because at this point,
not.
that's a step back, and it's like, wait a minute, they're trying to, it's like, okay, you're making Tszyu an attraction, and you want to keep him active, but you're going to go back in competition.
Well, I mean, this is why we question why did he fight Bowen Morgan? I mean, yeah, COVID, keep active fight, yeah, we can understand that, but it's like he's doing one step forward, two steps back. Why? None of these guys should be mentioned as opponents. None. But but then again, until they actually get in the ring, it's not going to happen. So I really wouldn't worry about it. But I mean, you think the most legitimate would be the winner of the Liam Smith fight. What's the other fellow's name again?
Magomedov Korobanov. Let me pull up exactly when that's happening.
Magomedov Korobanov or Jacko K. I mean, Jacko K is a little old and hasn't fought in a while, but he's certainly legit. He outranks Tim in the IBF. That would be a legitimate opponent. Perfectly legitimate. So, but these other names, why are they even being mentioned?
In fact, it says it's on April the 8th, the Liam Smith fight. So
yeah,
I mean,
it is.
I'm going to be covering it. Definitely going to be on
Yeah, definitely.
No, excuse me.
Definitely.
May the 8th. Excuse me.
May the 8th.
Yeah, May the 8th.
That's midweek.
Yeah. So
I thought it was happening a bit.
No, because it's in Russia. Russia does that too. Have their fights on Wednesdays.
May the 8th. Yep, fair enough. Yeah, but I thought the fight where it was happening this month.
No, wait a minute. May the 8th
okay.
is that's the same. That's a Saturday. It's the same day as Canelo fight.
That's right. He's taking on Billy Joe Saunders, isn't he?
Yeah. So, but since we're running late on time, we're at 27 minutes. We got to move on to. I got pulled up on the screen. Jeff Horn coming out of the shadows, talking about a comeback, and he's looking to fight Tszyu again.
Yeah, that's very, very unlikely.
Now, okay, then why does he want to even fight now, period? I mean...
Maybe he... what boxers are like, they get that itch.
Yeah, but, I mean, what about his wife? I mean, he's going to get hurt. He's already getting hurt. He's been in too many wars.
He has. I mean, the two wars with Zerafa really did it to him. And Tszyu just finished him off.
Like, he's got a whole newspaper spread about this.
Oh yeah, because people in Queensland and boxing, you mentioned Jeff Horn, people will go nuts. The boxing fans will go, oh great, Jeff's coming back. Yeah, the casual fans will want it. The real fans, the hardcore fans will be like, yeah, no. I mean, someone asked him on Facebook, do you have the same fire in the belly that you did against Pacquiao? He said no. Well, there's your answer.
Yeah.
So, I hope he doesn't come back because there's no need for him to come back. He just finished some sort of acting thing that he did on Facebook or some. Yeah, he did something. I think it was called Slugger or something. Some sort of little acting short film thing that he did. I think he needs to go in the opposite direction. But it's just funny how all this is happening all in one day. I mean, all has happened in one day. I'm like, bloody hell, what's going on Easter Sunday?
Yeah. The last little bit is since we only got about a minute left, is Alexander Volkanovski. He's looking, to try to fight Jeff Horn. And let me say this right now. He's not going nowhere. Dana White and the UFC are not going to allow this to happen. But I'm guessing, a lot of these UFC fighters know that they have a better chance or a great chance to make a lot of money when they're fighting, boxers. Closing thoughts real quick before we go?
Alex said straight out in the interview that he was looking at potentially after he retires from UFC. He's not doing anything to muck that up. But chances of that happening, extremely unlikely. So a crazy, crazy day in Australian boxing. I thought I'd have a nice, easy Sunday, with the kids celebrating Easter, and Australian boxing social media just exploded. I haven't seen anything like it. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but entertaining day though. Entertaining day.
Well, you're going to be seeing us again soon. We're going to try to get some questions in with Ebony Bridges, who's going to be taking on Shannon Courtney this Saturday on the Zone and Sky Sports over in the UK, if it's also on the Zone as well. Expect more details on that soon with our Fight Week preview after the Zoom call that she has coming up later on this week. So this is TstreeT Controversy with Big J and FightView360.com. Please subscribe.